So what was the other thing you wanted to talk about?
The other thing, Bob Cousy versus JJ Redick.
Oh yes, this is epic.
So for people who didn't hear about this, so first of all, Chris Mad Dog Russo is on First Take now with Stephen A. Smith,
which is just a disaster.
Awesome. Okay. And basically the problem, the hilarious thing, and Dan Le Batard, they'll watch the show,
right, while their show's on,
doing their show, and they'll comment on it. But anyway, so whenever they start talking about the NBA, Chris Mad Dog Russo, he's an older guy, and so whenever they start talking about the NBA, he'll bring up teams from like 40 or 50 years ago, and he'll bring up these old players like, who are you talking about? Like what? He'd be like, well, this team, the 1973 Seattle Supersonics changed the game. It's like, what? And so anyway, JJ Redick is on there with Stephen A. Smith and Mad Dog, and they're talking about Chris Paul, and I think Chris Russo's like singing the praises of Bob Cousy, and he's like, well, Bob Cousy changed the game, and they're kind of going back and forth, and JJ Redick goes, yeah, and he's like, well, Bob Cousy did this and this, and JJ Redick goes, yeah, against plumbers and firemen. Which was kind of not exactly true, but I mean, I understood the point he was making. It's like it was a totally different league back then, Yeah. Anyway, so I guess later on that week, 93-year-old Bob Cousy responded. And he was like, I don't know, he said something like, well, sometimes less talented people want to poke shots at you. And then he's like, I mean, I guess, maybe I did play against some bad players. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain and, Bill Russell, and he starts pointing all these guys out, I guess Bill Russell was pretty good when he wasn't fighting fires. I don't know. It was
and he said it's a credit. I guess it's a credit to firemen and plumbers. To plumbers, it's a credit to plumbers and firemen that we had such a great league back then. And it's absolutely hysterical. The idea that he could have fun with that, when and it wasn't really JJ Redick calling him out, but Chris Russo's whole act is done. Like, dude, what is this? Like, he's doing sports radio from 1987. It's just like, everybody who came in the past was better, and it's just.
And the other thing is, okay, and on Le Batard show, they pointed this out. So usually on these debate shows, like you might see the guy have a laptop in front of him.
Right.
Like that he might refer to in between segments or during commercial breaks or something.
Yeah.
Chris Russo, doing it old school. He's got newspapers out in front of him. He's got like the New York Post and other stuff. He's just figuring out what's going on in sports by reading the newspaper.
Yeah, and then he had said the thing, like last week or 2 weeks ago about shut up and play, about Draymond Green. Yeah, just shut up and play, blah, blah, blah. And JJ Redick let him have it. He was like, listen, that's the kind of stuff they say on Fox News, so no, don't forget the shut up and play thing. Like, this is how it is, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, oh, we're tired of Draymond Green, blah, 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 blah. It's like, man, outside of basketball, no one gives a rat's ass about Draymond Green. We're tired of Draymond Green. Give me a break, and I think Draymond's doing just fine. But that was what, but listen, man, it's why we can't go back and compare eras, because, I heard this on a podcast. I thought this was really funny on Bill Simmons' podcast. They were like, yeah, so if you took Eddie House and you brought him back to 1958, there'd be a statue of him outside the Boston Garden because he'd be unbelievable, and it's true. It's so true. It's like, yeah, okay. If we want to do this, like, let's just go off the rails with it then. So yeah, you can't compare eras. I mean, to me, I think modern basketball starts about 1984, about the time Jordan drafted. About that's to me where modern basketball kind of starts, and we're kind of out of modern. I mean, we're kind of still in it, but we're kind of moving to another phase at this point. The last 10 years.
You could say in maybe 2011, 2012, it kind of shifted into kind of more what it is now. Yeah, because like from 84 to about 2010, 2011, it was still pretty similar, Offenses had changed a little bit, the rules had changed a little bit,
right?
But it was still relatively similar. The game has really changed in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think you could probably go from about 1980 to about 2003 2003, 2004, because that's when they changed the hand check rules, and that kind of changed it. But you go back and watch, like, I watched a while back, watched the 2004 finals between Detroit and Los Angeles and the Lakers, the Pistons and the Lakers, and when it's 82 to 79 in the fourth quarter, it's just like, yeah, this isn't even close. It's completely, it's not bad. It's just completely different.
Yeah.
So anybody who acts like now, oh, they played real defense. That's my favorite, is the people who think, oh, they played real defense in the 90s and now they don't play real defense anymore. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, no.
I'm not, I mean, listen, I love 90s basketball. When in the 90s, I thought it was good because that's all we had. But looking back now, that was not great basketball at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Well,
so
it's kind of like, to be honest, like I'm a guitar player, right? And so like you can kind of go back and like, when Jimi Hendrix came out and he's playing solos and he's doing all this wild and crazy stuff. I mean, it's still awesome to this day. I still listen to it. It's like amazing. But it's like he comes out and does that, and then 10, 12 years later, Eddie Van Halen comes out and takes it to the next. You're like, oh my God, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Not that what Jimi Hendrix did was not unbelievable. It was, but it's just, as it evolves, it just kind of, it's difficult to compare because, the technology had advanced. And then obviously you've seen what other people do, and there's an evolution and it advances to the next level. It progresses, even further. And now there's like and then in the 80s, it was even more like it progressed even further than that. And then the 90s, it's just a thing, so.
Yeah. So, all right. So predictions going forward, you think, I think Dallas wins game 3. Do you think, do you still think Warriors in 6 or?
I think I'll probably stick with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so you still think Celtics in 6, you think they can win 3 in a row?
I'm going to stick with it. I think the Celtics probably win game 4. And then, look, if the Heat win game 5, depending on how they look in that game, I may be kind of like, okay, I think the Heat are going to pull this off. But, we'll see. It's just one of those things where Butler's may be out in game 4. So it's kind of,
Yeah. It's going to be tough. Yeah. I kind of think, before the series, I probably would have been with you, with Boston in 6, but, I think Miami has a real shot to get it to game. Obviously, they only have to win one more game. They win one more game, it's going to go 7 games. So, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah. Anyway, all right, guys. Episode 35 in the books. Everybody enjoy the playoffs.
Yep. We're watching tonight.